Hello, you. It's me. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you subscribers, new and old. It is so exciting to see my subscriber count slowly going up. It's really neat. And also, I have to thank you guys for some of the nicest comments that you have been leaving. I love engaging with you guys, and we might have a small group, but we have a really nice group. I really like it. So I wanted to thank you. I'm not very good at saying thank you for things that are nice, but I feel compelled to thank you because it really does. Just a little comment like I like you makes me feel so excited, and it just makes me want to do more videos. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. Now, this is Gypsy and Ken doing an interview for Extra, and it's my opinion that Gypsy in particular really embarrassed herself because this was such a ridiculous video. I watched it through Indigo, which is a great channel. She is an expert, or should be an expert, on body language, reading body language. Go check her out. Indigo, INDIGO, period. Her channel is fantastic, and she really gets in depth into reading the body language. She's been doing a lot on Gypsy as well, which, of course, we're interested in. So it was interesting to get her take. But beyond the body language, which was very interesting, and she does indicate times where things could be a little deceptive, or she's just not being honest about how she feels about things, which I think is pretty obvious. But I love body language people because they point out so many things that I would have just completely overlooked, would have missed, and it's brilliant. Just check her out; she's great. Anyway, one of the things that really irritates me about Gypsy is she's a new mom, quote unquote, if we are to believe that there's a child. And I'm just going to go with, there's a child right now, just for this statement. She acts like she is such an expert that she knows everything. And it just floors me, because I look back on myself when I was a new mother, on friends, on family who were new mothers, and they were never so smug. By the time you have like a second, third, fourth baby, I can see where you've been through it before, you understand it, and you can go through the motions and feel more confident in doing so. But at 2 months old, she's an expert on being a mother? It doesn't work like that. You don't see any of the fear or the tension or the stress. When you have a new baby in the house, it's very stressful, especially a first child, because you're learning how to do all the things you need to do to take care of the child. And sometimes they're cranky, and sometimes they're not happy, bubbly, and smiling. And sometimes you worry because you don't know what's wrong. You check on them, constantly make sure they're breathing while they're sleeping. She never expresses any of those things, but yet she is just doing great at being a mom. She loves being a mom. And so the second question I thought is, how do you know if you love being a mom? Because you're never there to be a mom. When is she at home? She's taking driver's lessons in her 9th month and the first month after her child was born. She's running around to different interviews, like right now. She's, and that's, I'm assuming she's going to be here in LA for about a week or so. I'm not really sure, but it's been at least 3 or 4 days. And she went out with Ken, which I almost can forgive that, because sometimes you just want a break, because having a child so young, it can be very stressful. So I can almost forgive her night out with Ken. But then to go to a concert like the next weekend or so, so closely, I don't understand. Being gone all night, don't understand. And is it good that she has her family around to help with taking care of this newborn child? Sure, I think that's fantastic. But it seems like she's putting it all on her family, and she's doing nothing. Now, maybe she's there. She always says, oh yeah, I change her, I burp her, I feed her, I put her to bed. Where's the playtime? There's no mention of, oh, I tickle her little toesies and she looks so excited, or I rub her belly, or I used to like to kiss my daughter on her little cheeks and blow on her belly to make her laugh. Just all those little stupid things that you do with your kid. And I would take the time just to look at her and hold her and admire this beautiful little bundle in my hands. She never talks about that. It's always so surface level. And it kind of makes me sick, because if there is indeed a child, which we are making the assumption of right now, that there is a child, she's never with that child hardly. How does she even know what being a mother is? It's like she planned a pregnancy, and I do believe she planned a pregnancy. Going to a fertility clinic just before she got pregnant kind of hints at that. But she doesn't want any of the responsibility. She definitely doesn't put Aurora first. Not with any of her actions, not with the things that she talks about. In fact, that's what got me in this interview. She was asked, you've had a really eventful year. What is the most eventful thing? Now, of course, most of us would say, well, I was so glad to connect with Ken because we have this beautiful baby now. She doesn't say that. She said, well, the most amazing thing was connecting back with Ken and going out with him and sharing times with him and going to Jazz Fest. And then Ken says, oh, and the baby. It's like, oh, and of course the baby. Yeah, that wasn't her thought. That wasn't her first thought. I think most people, when they have a child, their first thought is, well, having a child with the wonderful man that I reconnected with, that makes sense. What she said made no sense. And another thing that she said that makes no sense, she was asked, what are you going to do differently with your daughter than what your mother did with you? And she's like, I'm just going to do the opposite of what my mother did, and I just want to give Aurora everything. Really? You're never there to give her anything. Are you even there to give her any love, any attention? Because a 2-month-old child, that's what they need. They need love. They need attention. You need to play with them. It's not just about feeding and burping and changing diapers. That's all they ever talk about. Is Ken, he apparently can make her burp great. And it's like, okay, but that could be a funny little story, but it wasn't. It doesn't even seem like it's real. I mean, even Ken, you can see right now, he's looking at the interviewer and he's got this weird look on his face. And he had that like throughout the whole thing. He seemed very nervous, very on edge during the interview. And it was weird. But getting back to what she said about her mother, Gypsy's like, oh, I'm going to do things differently with my child. And when I think back to what I know, is that she was most likely spoiled as a child. She got everything. And yes, as I've said before, her mother did commit fraud, did steal, but it looked like everything that she did was for her daughter. She would apply to all these things so they could take these trips, go swim with dolphins, go to Disneyland or Disney World, whatever it was. Those were the frauds that Dee Dee made to get these amazing trips for her child, who was a sick child. She was a sick child. Just probably not as sick as she let on, which is where the fraud was. But she did it all for Gypsy. So Gypsy's saying she's going to do things differently. So just ignoring your child? Is that what you're going to do differently? I mean, I think you can actually pay attention to your child and spoil your child with love and affection. I mean, that would be an awesome thing. I think your mother obviously went too far with that, because look at the spoiled little brat, selfish child that you are now. And spoiled little brats don't make great parents. And again, how do you know if you're a great parent? You hardly ever seem to be with your child. So it just, And then one of the things she said she wanted to do differently was she had a baby shower. Her mother didn't have a baby shower, but she made sure to have one. How surface level is that? That's what you're doing differently? You had a baby shower so people could give you a bunch of free shit that you didn't have to go buy? I don't understand how that's doing things differently. Maybe it was different, but what does it even matter? What does that have to do with a child who wasn't even born yet? That made no sense whatsoever. And it just... The interviewer, I forget his name, he did his best with it. He just, moved on to other things. But she looked like a selfish, spoiled brat who didn't give a fuck about a child. Could you imagine if she had another? I mean, actually, it could be good if she did have another, because then maybe the children could bond and take care of each other, because she's not bonding with her child. Ken either. They both seem so distant. They're so excited to be in LA and being interviewed and talking about the new series 2 coming out about their stupid show. But everything about the child is so surface level. She doesn't even seem to care about this child. She doesn't talk about it like a mother would talk about. She doesn't gush. It just is irritating to me, because those are the reasons why, like a lot of us believe, that there may not even be a child. Because how could you ignore a 2-month-old child so easily? It just, I don't get it. There's no compassion at all. There's no love that you can see. Now, could I be wrong? Sure. But I know what I'm not wrong about. I know that she seems to do everything she possibly can to get out of the house, to get away from the baby. Most people, especially new mothers, can't stay away from their child. They're attached at the hip. And again, I can understand that getting out for a couple hours to go have dinner quietly could be a good idea, could be something to do, because the strains and stresses of a newborn is big. But she, just watching her, everything is so selfish. Everything is about her. And when people ask her about things like the Menendez case, I hope I said that right, she just seems aggravated because they're not talking about her anymore. I mean, did you hear her answer about how she wants to advocate for people in prison? Buzzword, buzzword, nothingness, buzzword, buzzword. That was pretty much her answer. She's really good at performing in front of people. She's been doing it all her life. Or for a good chunk of her life. As a kid, she did a lot of performing. If you've ever seen any of those videos, thank you so much. I'm so happy. I'm eating mashed potatoes, or real mashed potatoes, or thank you so much. Disney's so much fun. I mean, it was performance from the beginning. And maybe she genuinely did have fun. I don't know. She certainly loves being catered to, that's for sure. But it just is unbelievable. I only hope that there isn't a child at this point, because the child is already being neglected. I'm sorry, but she could have taken her child to LA. She has enough money to hire a nanny for the trip. How could you be away from your child for so long? I can't even imagine going to a concert and being without my child for 5 or 6 or 7 hours, whatever it was. That to me would have been enough to I gotta go home. I gotta see my child. I gotta hug her. Gypsy has none of that. Has none of that. I am curious about what happens after this show is over. I mean, I've said that before, but I'm curious to see what happens with her and Ken, because Ken looks so checked out. He really does. I think if there is a child, like we're being led to believe, I don't even think he cares about the child. He doesn't look like he cares about anything. He doesn't even look like he wants to be there. It looks like he is just under a tremendous amount of stress, trying to say the right things to make Gypsy look good. And he failed, in my belief. Although she failed even more. She ruined it more than anybody else. Her answers were ridiculous. I still can't get over that. Oh, I'm doing things different. I had a baby shower. My mother didn't have one. So I'm doing something that's more individual to me. It's not about you. That's the one thing she doesn't understand. And she needs to learn how to perform better. Because when people are asking about the child that you had, supposedly, allegedly, they want to know about the child, not just about you. And I remember hearing, I was listening to Night Convos, who played another portion of the live that she did with Brie and a few other people. I don't know who they are. She said, I'm not a celebrity. I don't see myself as a celebrity. Yeah, you do. You do. You speak of it all the time. Oh, I'm so famous. You say it all the time. I'm sorry, I get so aggravated. It's so awful. This woman should be in prison. She should not be someone that we can report on or talk about, except for, oh, she ate a bologna sandwich in prison. But I am very curious to find out where her and Ken's relationship will stand after the show is over. Will he stick around? I know they're talking about it's only 3 months more or so until Gypsy is released from her parole. If she does get paroled, which it seems likely at this point, is she going to live with Ken? Because like I said, Ken just looks totally checked out. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm frustrated, but I wanted to make a video about this because God, she just looks ridiculous. That's what it is. She looks ridiculous in this interview. You can see in the TMZ interview that she was annoyed that they weren't just talking about her. I think there's another interview that I might have seen little snippets of. I'll have to look up that and see. But she just embarrassed herself. She looked ridiculous. And that fake smile, Ken just looking agitated. What a shit show. Honestly, what a freaking shit show. Watching it was just astonishing. I'll be honest with you. It really was. I do recommend, once again, going to Indigo. That's how it's put out. Because the body language is so interesting. The things that she talks about, it's really interesting. Check it out. And Night Convos, because they're just delightful people, delightful couple. I always like to recommend other channels because they're awesome, and they are the reason why I have the information that I give to you now. So please check them out. Although I'm assuming you probably have already, but I haven't heard a lot of people talk about Indigo, and if you find body language reading interesting, I think you'll really like it. It's really interesting what she has to say. And although she doesn't give any definite things, she does make suggestions that this could be leading into deception, etc. And it fits. I'll put it that way. It fits. Anyway, that's all I gotta say.